In this video, we'll show you how to install your new TimberTech composite decking boards using conceal lock fasteners. These instructions will enable you to complete a standard decking design, which includes a straight pattern with deck boards extending to the edges. Composite decking joist spacing should never exceed 16 inches on center. However, a 12-inch joist spacing may be used for a more rigid feel underfoot. All angled and commercial installations require a maximum of 12-inch on-center joist spacing. Before installing, you'll need the TimberTech Composite Decking Installation Guide, along with this list of tools. You'll also need your deck plan for the size, layout, and railing. Make sure your pre-existing framing is securely attached to the house, that you have the appropriate joist spacing and blocking, and that joists are in plane across the tops. The first step is to cut your composite deck boards. When cutting, remember to always wear proper safety glasses. Deck boards can be easily cut with a power miter saw or an electric circular saw. However, a power miter saw will provide the best results. Cut boards one at a time with the grain facing upward. Always cut factory ends to provide a clean, square cut and finish. Do not install boards with factory end cuts. As always, remember to measure twice and cut once. For best results, don't cut boards after they have been fastened. If using a circular saw, be sure to use a saw guide to ensure a clean cut and finish. To cut around rail posts or other obstructions, a jigsaw can be used. Always allow 3/16-inch minimum gap where the boards meet any adjoining structure or posts. Before installing your cut composite boards, there are a few things you need to know. TimberTech fasteners are recommended for installation. These fasteners include TimberTech Conceal Lock screws and clips, TimberTech Top Lock composite deck screws, and TimberTech Cortex Hidden Fastener System. For fastening of the first and last deck boards, pre-drilling is required to avoid end splitting and screw shearing. If installed without proper 5/32 pre-drill for top lock and 7/32 for Cortex, mushrooming and splitting will occur. Note that Cortex cannot be used on scalloped TimberTech composite deck boards. TimberTech Composite also have necessary gapping requirements. Side-to-side board gapping must be minimum 1/8 inch to maximum 3/16 inch. Conceal lock is self-spacing to make installation easier. However, a spacing tool can also be used to ensure even spacing and can be purchased at TimberTech.com or through your local dealer. Allow 3/16-inch minimum gap where the board meets any adjoining structure or post. Follow these butt joint gapping guidelines for all TimberTech composite boards. Conceal lock fasteners should always be positioned in the center of the joist for straight installation. For angled installations, offset the center a 1/2 inch towards the long point of the joist so the screw won't exit the side of the joist when driven. Conceal lock screws should be driven in at a 45-degree angle while applying pressure. With those tips in mind, you're now ready to install your TimberTech composite decking. For the first groove decking board, pre-drill a hole with a 5 32-inch drill bit 3/4 inch from the edge and no closer than 3/4 inch from board ends at each framing support. Remember that any screw installed closer than 1.5 inches from the end of the board must be pre-drilled. Fasten the board to the joists using a TimberTech fastener. For a complete fastener-free surface, Cortex can be used on first and last boards. For Cortex installations, pre-drill a hole with a 7 32-inch drill bit 3/4 inch from the edge and no closer than 3/4 inch from board ends at each framing support. Note that Cortex cannot be used on boards with a scalloped bottom. Before installing the second board, measure at the center and at both ends to make sure the board is even and square with the deck framing. Next, install one conceal lock fastener and screw at the center of each joist. For the first joist, the clip will need to be offset from the center of the joist to avoid overhang on the edge of the deck. Start by fully inserting the fastener into the grooved edge of the board. Press the clip downward to engage the teeth into the top of the groove. Drive the screw at a 45-degree angle into the center of the joist until the clip is tight. Make sure the conceal lock fastener is in full contact with the edge of the board and that the screw is holding the fastener down tight to the joists. With the conceal lock fasteners properly installed, place the next board into position. Slightly raise the outer edge of the board and slide it onto the fastener until the plank contacts the spacer tab at the end of the clip. To aid in installations, a 2x4 piece of framing material, 24 to 48 inches long, must be used as a tamping block or beater board to drive the board further and fully engage the spacer tab at the left end of the clip. Do not overdrive the board or hit too hard. Do not use a hammer or any object to directly strike the deck board, as this will damage the edge of the deck board. For installation at a butt joint, a double joist or sister joist block is required to create a full 1.5 inches for each board end to rest. And for proper conceal lock fastening, 2 clips are needed to fasten each end of the boards. The clip on the right side must offset 1/4 inch from the center to avoid overhang. Make sure each board is fully seated on 1.5 inch joist or blocking, and ensure that there are 4 clips at each butt joint, 2 for each board. Do not use a single joist for butt joints, and do not try to split a single clip between the joint. Continue installing the rest of your composite deck boards while maintaining a 1/8 inch to 3/16 inch space between deck boards for proper drainage. Remember to measure every 3 to 5 rows to verify installation is even across the frame. And again, when fastening the first or last boards, remember pre-drilling is required when fastening within 1.5 inches of the board ends and when temperatures are below 45 degrees Fahrenheit. Cortex requires a 7/32 inch pre-drill for all applications. You are now ready to install your TimberTech composite decking.